It's a sad day for Ron DeSantis' campaign. Big news coming out of NBC. Let's talk about it. So, according to a new report from NBC News, a super PAC behind Ron DeSantis' campaign, known as Never Back Down, will no longer be canvassing in some pretty important states, including Nevada, California, Texas, and North Carolina. And that's a pretty huge change from what the super PAC was originally aiming for. So let's go to the report itself, which states that in mid-July, Never Back Down officials said the group was committed to both an early state strategy and heavy investments in the March primary contests, including a 14-state Super Tuesday slate. Kristen Davison, Chief Operating Officer for Never Back Down, said the group was ready to insert 80 newly trained field operatives into California, while PAC officials touted the doors they knocked across Texas, North Carolina, and the states that hold the first 4 contests in the presidential debate. Now, look, if they had decided against canvassing in California, I mean, it would be dumb even in the context of a primary contest. But the fact that they're like focusing on other states where DeSantis might have some likelihood of winning in the primary, right? Says something about what they think about the outcome of this primary election. Now, some of those canvassers are getting reassigned to states that vote early in the primary. At its peak, Never Back Down employed more than 250 field staffers in Nevada, California, Texas, and North Carolina. Though some had departed prior to the shutdown, in recent weeks, some of those who were assigned to the areas where there are cuts were offered opportunities elsewhere, including on door-knocking teams stood up by the super PAC in Iowa, New Hampshire, and South Carolina. So I'm gonna pause for comment, because what do you think this is really about, Cenk? What do you think is happening here?
Yeah, I'm positive I know what's happening. First of all, canvassing, it helps you move about 1 to 3 percentage points in an election.
Wow.
So I wish it did more, because it's a huge advantage for progressives for 2 reasons. We have a lot more grassroots energy, and then for Democrats overall, union guys canvass a lot, and that helps, right? But it doesn't move elections by that much. But in a tight election, it makes all the difference, okay? So I don't want to discourage you from doing it. In a tight election, it's critical that you do it. Having said that, DeSantis is getting blown out. So when you're losing by 30 to 50 points, that 1 to 3 points ain't gonna help you at all. And so they are correct in their strategy of pulling the canvassers and redirecting that money towards something that could close a 30-point lead, right? So that's why as someone who understands politics, I'm not at all surprised by this move, but it is hilarious because they're called Never Back Down.
Oof.
Okay, and there's more irony to this, and this is the part that I love. They were so cocky in the beginning, and we read you a couple of quotes of theirs, and they were like, "We are running the most professional organization here." First of all, who cares? That's not how you win elections. But they were so proud of all the money that they had collected, right? And they had brought on all the professionals. Meanwhile, Trump's winning just by going to McDonald's going, right, quarter pounders on me, right? And all those clown ass professionals don't know a goddamn thing about politics. Anyways, in the beginning, they invited all the reporters. Now, this is the height of arrogance. 2 door knocking events they were doing. And they're like, oh, this is why we're gonna win. You see this, all the support we have, and we're doing all this door knocking, and we're the biggest professional consultants out there, man. And now they're shutting down the one thing that they showed reporters as their prized possession of their strategy. Oops.
Look, the DeSantis campaign is clearly in a lot of trouble. In fact, this next graphic will tell you a lot about even his avid supporters and how they feel about his campaign so far. So asked by Rolling Stone late Wednesday night about how DeSantis did at the debate, that's the first Republican primary debate, one big GOP donor who's been backing DeSantis against Trump simply replied, quote, "He was there."
Oops.
Another Republican high roller donor who has given to both Trump and DeSantis in the past and is currently waiting to see if the Florida governor recovers or completely implodes in the primary, said early Thursday that DeSantis was unimpressive, but not a disaster.
Wow, that sounds really heartwarming.
Oh my God.
What strong support. Never back down. Well, I mean, we could back down. We could. It depends on the situation.
A senior aide for one of the other debate participants says their candidate in recent prep sessions saw little need to go after DeSantis hard because he's very close to becoming old news.
Oof. So look, there's an even more devastating story out about a donor that gave $20 million to that super PAC. Let's pause here to note that we just allowed $20 million bribes in America.
But also, congratulations.
Yeah, so they asked that donor, so are you gonna give more than ever back down this PAC? And he said, no, I'm backing down. Okay, and basically he said, no, I stopped giving to him. One, because he's got to show me that he could bring in other donors and that he could bring in actual voters. Okay, that's logical. But the second reason was interesting. He said he's got to go more moderate, otherwise we can't win anyway. What's the point? And he's like, the 6-week abortion ban is such a dumb idea because that donor doesn't care about the Republican primaries. Every Republican will do anything that donor asks them, okay? So he cares about winning the general election. So he's like, now you're doing the 6-week abortion ban, we're gonna lose the general election. What's the point of backing you? The reason that a lot of these donors are switching is not because they're like, oh, I am so offended by what Donald Trump is doing. I care so much about democracy. No, the main thing the donors care about is that Trump is gonna lose the general election. They got slaughtered in the midterms because of Trump, so they were backing DeSantis because they thought he was gonna win the general election, and now it looks like he's not gonna win the primary or the general election, so now they're in full scale backing down.
Yeah, and the question is, how are they gonna regroup and who are they gonna prop up next? Is there a possibility that they might try to prop up Ramaswamy? Or no, actually, I mean, we know that conservative media following the first GOP primary debate was trying to prop up Nikki Haley. Maybe Nikki Haley's their gal. Maybe that's what they're gonna try to do.
Definitely.
But I don't think it's gonna work.
That's not gonna work either. This reminds me exactly of 2016. They're playing music, the donors are playing musical chairs with the establishment candidates. Oh, it's gonna be Jeb, please clap. Okay, fine, it's not Jeb, it's Marco Rubio. Okay, and they went person to person. They even go like, oh, we're so desperate, Ted Cruz, right? And meanwhile, all they did was attack each other and they left Trump alone. And here we are again. Now, so they have a debate and they attack Ramaswamy, attacks Haley, Haley attacks Ramaswamy. Meanwhile, 6 out of 8 of them are kissing Trump's ass the whole night, right? And he's the one with the 50-point lead. So they just can't help themselves. And look, this is anecdotal, but it confirms everything that we told you before, and it confirms a lot of the post-debate polling, etc. I was talking to a Republican neighbor just yesterday, and he's a Trump fan and all that. And he said, yeah, they're trying to force Nikki Haley on us. It ain't gonna work, okay? They're not gonna go for Nikki Haley. So go ahead, waste more money on her. It doesn't matter. Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR, so those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.